Welcome to Terp Trends, your ultimate podcast destination for all things cannabis. Today's episode, we are discussing different solvent and solventless extraction methods with Jonathan Jon, aka Jon Jon or JJ. JJ is currently working at Mindtree Genetics in PA and runs Circus Cannabis Co., a PA-based CBD company where he offers all different hemp products from edibles and tinctures to D8 and THCA. Circus Cannabis has you covered. Check out Circus Cannabis products at circuscanna.com. That's Circus, CANNA.com. So sit back, relax, and get ready to embark on an enlightening journey through the world of cannabis. This is Terp Trends. Let's dive in. I'd like to welcome special guest, Jon Jon here. Thanks for coming to Terp Trends and taking some time. I know we're all busy in this crazy life of cannabis. So whenever we can get you for an hour, definitely grateful. You just want to dive in a little bit and tell Terp Trends about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Jonathan Jon, go by Jon Jon or JJ, and I've been in the cannabis industry for a long time, even before legalization. I've been a big advocate for cannabis and cannabis reform my entire life. I've always given, the legalization of cannabis speech in high school up through college. Um, and always been a user. Kind of sold cannabis back in the day during my college years, mostly mid grade. But that was back. Yeah, then middies went away. But so yeah, and then I kind of got a break in 2018. Was fortunate enough to join a new cannabis company coming to Pennsylvania, Holistic Industries. Started working up there as an extraction technician in 2018. A couple years later, I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to start a hemp lab in Pennsylvania. So we extracted a ton of hemp, Pennsylvania grown and regionally grown, converted that into CBD products, and then subsequently when Delta 8 came, jumped on that train and rode that. And then just recently, I've ventured back into the medical space as the lab manager for Mindtree Genetics. So I've always been very passionate about cannabis and helping people. I don't believe anybody should ever be criminalized or be in jail for something as safe as cannabis. I don't think that there's a place for people to be telling us what we can and cannot do with our bodies and the plants in the world. So yeah, that's my intro. And also one important thing I left out was I started my own company called Circus Cannabis Company, which was an offshoot after I left the hemp lab. It's very lucrative business, the hemp industry, and I always kind of felt like I could take on entrepreneurship. So I started Circus because the cannabis industry is a circus, and I learned that through being in the industry, the various laws from state to state, the loopholes, the players in the industry, the good, the bad, the ugly. Um, it's just that every day is a circus, and every day you're just on your toes, and it's another act. And Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's been a very wild ride, and it still continues to be a pretty wild ride.
And I don't think that ride is ever going to change. I think even with more and more states coming available and more programs changing how they flow, this wave's only going to get bigger, a little more choppier. But overall, if you are able to ride it, it is really cool. Hearing everything you just said, I think one of the most important aspects of what you're doing is with a with the side project of being able to extract all this stuff yourself with the Circus Cannabis. I mean, that's cool because you can still have a hobby. For some people that aren't aware of the legal side and working in this industry, as much of it is a passion to all of us behind it, when you are clocking into that job all the time, it does take a little bit of that percentage of passion and love away. So that's cool that you're able to reflare that and keep that going, everybody on the side. And I think it kind of helps you maybe not get a little too burnt out with dealing maybe everything you would in the legal side of things. You know, not saying the circus cannabis isn't legal, but for a medical program for a state, put it that way. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. The with the legalization comes corporations and investors and money, and at the end of the day, it is a job, and you go to work and you get paid, and it has its ups and downs just like any job, and it does, you know, take some of that pride and passion and culture, and puts it on the wayside and says, this is business, and this is how that we're going to run a business, and so there's give and take, but definitely what I tell everybody is, keep your eye on the prize. You got into this industry for a reason, and you're gonna have dirt days. You're gonna have days that you just feel beaten down and feel like you're getting taken advantage of, and that the people above you might not share the same passion as you do, but you have to stay strong in the community, and make sure that you connect with like-minded individuals like us too, and keep pushing forward, because it's a long, long way to go. This isn't a race. It's not a sprint. It's a
Yeah,
marathon.
yeah, a long one, a long one. Well, part of this fun that you've been having with cannabis, man, just with your chemistry background that you've been dabbling into and pursuing, comes the cannabis extraction side of things, which is definitely why I wanted you on this, being part of PA. And I think PA medicine, I could be wrong, but I feel like it does have a heavy, uh, no pun intended, concentration on concentrates, and which we're obviously going to use. But if you just want to help this industry out, if you are a new consumer in 2024, or maybe you've been consuming for a while and you are starting to dab into these concentrates, part of this episode is to break down that knowledge and get a better understanding of everything that is going on. So if we just want to start off with the basics and just understanding some basic 101 cannabis extraction, what do you think is like the most important, or you think the most used extraction process?
Um, so the most, each has its own advantage and disadvantage. In a nutshell, cannabis extraction, what we're doing is we're taking the compounds from the plant, specifically THC, but it could be any cannabinoid or terpene or anything beneficial. We're taking that from the plant, and we're going to concentrate it down into a more refined form. So we're kind of cleaning it up, right? Like when you think about it, the plant matter itself is kind of just filler. What we're really after is that trichome, kind of what's in those trichomes, the active compounds in there. So we're taking that and we're gonna make an oil typically, and then that oil is very versatile. So you can put that into vape pens, dabbable concentrates of various form, topicals, tincture, pet. So it really opens up cannabis to a wide variety of consumers that aren't just smoking. So traditionally, we think of cannabis, we think of smoking, inhaling. Some people just aren't even fortunate enough to be able to inhale cannabis, but with things like edibles, it really helps a lot of people be able to experience cannabis that may have never even thought of trying cannabis. So it opens up our consumer base very wide, and gets us more people on board with cannabis. As far as the different methods, you know, the primary methods are going to be hydrocarbon extraction, which is like a gas, just like you would cook with your grill. It's a little more specialized, but you can think of it basically as a tank that you would put on your grill, just a little bigger. Another method is CO2 extraction. So, CO2 in and of itself is inherently safe. And when we extract with CO2, the solvent CO2 leaves the extract very quickly and doesn't really leave behind any trace amounts of CO2. We can also extract with ethanol, which is a very traditional way of extracting. This is how Rick Simpson oil is made. So that's basically just taking the plant matter, soaking it in a ethanol or alcohol solvent, and then removing that solvent from the concentrated extract. And what's left behind is like a sticky goo, and that's your ethanol extraction. And we can also do things that now kind of are on the verge of the connoisseur, which is considered solventless, even though water is a solvent. You make Kool-Aid, you put the Kool-Aid in it, it's going to dissolve. That's acting like a solvent. The reason it's we call it solventless is because water and oil don't mix, and so what we're physically using the water to knock the trichome off of the plant matter, and then we're going to collect those trichomes. So it's not acting as a solvent in that sense when we extract with the water, but we can also do solventless in other ways. Some new forms that are coming on the market are called what's called dry sift, and I'm sure everybody has experienced this. You open up your grinder and you got a bunch
Oh
of keef
yeah.
in there. Essentially, dry sift is just going to be taking that keef uh, material and refining it further, just as we would with bubble hash. Through a series of sieves and isolations, and they've got some pretty radical techniques now with static, and this is actually going back to like really almost like ancient ways of how they've extracted these resins. If you've ever seen videos of guys over in Afghanistan, they basically have these big tables and they're going back and forth with some um, metal pieces, and the material sticks to that metal, and that's kind of like the refinement. So there's a variety of ways that we can extract. Probably the most versatile is going to be hydrocarbon, because it extracts a very wide array of the compounds in the plant, but it's also very selective, so it leaves out undesirable things. Sometimes ethanol pulls out more than we want it to. CO2 doesn't really give us the versatility to come up with like a really stellar concentrate, but it is good in its kind of raw form, in the oil form. Um, and then solventless, is a pretty niche thing. You're pretty much just going to get the trichomes from it. So when we're talking about versatility in the range of products we can create, hydrocarbon extraction is going to be the most versatile, because you can make distillate, you can make concentrates, you can extract whole buds, you can extract trim. So it's just very versatile.
And I feel like with all these hydrocarbons coming available, that's how they're really reintroducing all of these terpenes as well. So when you're dealing with these products of hydrocarbons, like these, like would that be like a crumble or like a wax would be a nice example of that, or like a live resin would be like a good hydrocarbon.
So when we're talking about hydrocarbons and concentrates, it does pull out a very a lot amount of the terpene content, and that can be separated further from the cannabinoids and the terpenes. So typically, the cannabinoid, the THCA, will crystallize. That's where we get our sugars and things like that, and we can actually separate out the terp layer from that, and have a very rich terpene profile that is very true to the plant. And those terpenes can be reintroduced um, to the concentrate. They can be left in the concentrate. Um, and when we talk about different consistencies, we usually talk about different what's called finishing techniques. So that's either whipping the material, that's putting it in a jar and allowing it to crystallize, or putting it in a pan, allowing it to crystallize. Um, so with the different finishing techniques, we can get different forms of extract, both high and low terpene content.
Nice. I think like with that, it really fits everyone's personal preference as well. I mean, at this point, I look for just the solventless, the bubble hash, or the rosin. But I think it's nice that all different consumers are able to get more of a profile of terpenes, or just a different price point as well. Because I know some people, they love butter and they love waxes, and I have one friend who he's still on shatter. He loves the slabs and he loves the way that works, and I look at him like he's nuts, but it's still what he loves. And I think that's the coolest thing about cannabis is we do have kind of a print for everybody, and you can find something. If you dislike something else, there is a chance there is something that you will like. uh, Unlike other things, I feel like you're kind of stuck in that realm. Flowers flower, edibles are edibles, but when it comes to concentrates, you have such a wide range of variety to fit pretty much anybody's spectrum, which is unique, I think.
Yeah, for sure. You can get like a soft, buttery extract. You can get a hard and crystallized extract, liquid, a lot of liquid terps, or kind of like a drier extract. So everybody has their preferences for sure. Solventless, hydrocarbon. Hydrocarbon tends to be at a better price point nowadays. But solventless is coming down. Maybe not on this side of the states, but it's very competitive in other markets to get some solventless. The thing with solventless is it's got to be grown just right. So not everything extracts well in solventless, whereas in hydrocarbon you can be more forgiving with the plant matter that you use. So that's kind of where the connoisseurs kind of dig in because we talk about fire in, fire out. You can't bullshit good
No.
rosin. It's just it is what it is. It comes from the plant. The plant's giving up that oil, those trichomes, and if it dumps, it's a washer. You know what I mean? And it's amazing to see after you wash some of this stuff and you get that like a deep purple in that
Oh
in the
yeah.
wash, and then you collect the trichomes, and it's like scooping ice cream. It's very mesmerizing, and then to press that out into rosin, to see that oil coming off the press, and then harden into some fresh press, and you kind of get to play around with it.
It is.
I could do it for just
Yeah.
hours. It's just so
It is very
mesmerizing.
mesmerizing. It is. I have to agree. So that with working with all these different ways of extraction, what do you think is your personal preference, or what do you look forward to getting? A happy day when you see like, all right, this is what I'm doing today. I'm extracting this. What's your favorite method?
I mean, solventless is definitely my favorite. Like I was just describing, it's an amazing phenomenon. And I never thought taking a bunch of weed and putting it in a giant tub of water and beating it with a paddle
Would be so cool.
would be something I would be doing, because I feel like back when I was younger, I'd be like, "What the hell are you doing with all that weed? You're gonna ruin it," you know.
Yep.
But when you do it, and like I said, you just start collecting those trichomes, and then you can look at the trichomes like under a microscope or a jeweler's loupe, and you just see how beautiful it is, and it's just amazing to see those little heads,
Oh
and
yeah.
then subsequently, putting that on the press and watching that oil come out. It's like wow, and the smells. Um, so that's probably my favorite. Hydrocarbon, these other types of extraction are more industrial. You don't really see the process that much. They can be a bit messy, very, rosins kind of could be messy, but we keep it pretty
Yeah.
clean and
Yeah.
tidy. But ethanol, CO2, you're just kind of blasting it, right? And when it comes out of the machine, it kind of looks like dog poop sometimes.
It does. It looks very troubling when it is coming out of that loop system. You're
Yeah,
just kind of like, what is this?
but
Um,
it's pretty cool. It's very sciency. All these different forms. So you know, they're definitely cool to learn about the science. But my favorite's got to be solventless.
Yeah, I think it's more of a spiritual technique as well. I feel like the more machinery you introduce to it, it takes away from that. So the fact that you're dealing with natural elements the whole entire way,
Mm,
um, I think it keeps that spirituality in cannabis intact, which is nice. And
yeah, for
and
sure.
I personally love solventless and making it. I love sifting and bubble hash. I love this whole rosin train we're on, but as soon as we get down to like back to 6 star and just like normal bubble hash, I think that's gonna be really cool, and that's gonna really test quality and who's putting that quality out, especially when it comes to the bubble. You
For
can't
sure.
you can't deny the bubble. You know.
Right.
So talking about that, let's lead more into the Circus Cannabis Company, man. I mean, I love what you're doing, especially that's PA, taking advantage of the hemp industry, which was great, and you are still going because there are so many companies that were in the same maybe mindset or the same passion drive, and kind of after the hemp bill was introduced, 2018, 2019 were super cool for those companies and people getting into it, but keeping that train and that flow going, I know was very difficult for a lot of people. So, what kind of led to your Circus Cannabis Company? What kind of products are you offering, and what's going on with that?
For sure. So, when I started extracting hemp back in 2019, it was really cool to build out another lab. I love building out labs. I've come in to several locations, which is just a kind of an empty slate, pick out the equipment, design the process flow. So that was a really cool experience to get started at that previous company. And then, Circus kind of came to me as my dream. I was working for somebody else at the time. I had no equity ownership in that company, but my passion and my drive fueled that company every day, and I felt like I deserved a little bit of a bigger cut. So that's where I kind of went on my own with pretty much no funding at all from the ground up. Um, but people can kind of recognize the quality that I put into the product. And so I was able to gain, some clients, some pretty nice clients in that regard. And yeah, the hemp industry has been tough. When I first got into it, it was right around when like the great harvest, if you will. Like everybody grew, everybody harvested, and the prices just
It
started
was wild,
plummeting.
man.
Um, you
It
know,
was.
some,
I worked for a gentleman, and he started an operation here in PA with the Amish,
Mhm.
and it was wild. 60 was it 60 acres total, 25 farms spread out between Chester County and Lancaster County, and we weren't the only ones doing something like that in PA. It was
Yeah.
nuts in 2018, 2019 with hemp. It was just like hemp fields everywhere,
Hmm.
but with that, it set the line for who's going to be able to survive this rush.
Yeah, a lot of folks that kind of really weren't sure what they're doing just started planting and growing hemp. A lot of farmers really had no idea what to do with it after they grew it. And then they come to find out that what they grew, what they put their passion and all this money into is pretty much worthless, which is a really big heartbreaker. So luckily for some people, Delta 8 did come along, and Delta 8 does naturally occur in the plant. It's small levels, and you can get Delta 8 from Delta 9. So actually in the PA medical market, there have been medical GPs that have put out Delta 8 vapes, Delta 8 tinctures, and these are coming from cannabis plants that they grew within the medical program. Um, Delta 9 will naturally convert into Delta 8 given the right um, kind of set of criteria. So, um, that being said, 99.9% of the products now coming from the hemp industry, as far as Delta 8 goes, are synthetically converted from taking CBD and performing a chemical reaction to convert that into Delta 8. A lot of people, it's kind of scary for a lot of people. Like, we talked about solventless and the purity of it. It's kind of the opposite, right? We're doing chemistry. I can say that as a chemist, people make drugs all the time. LSD is synthesized. You know what I mean? So these things can be done safely. They can be done professionally, and they can provide a pure compound. But the hemp industry, with its Wild West mentality and zero regulation, no oversight, allows for really bad players to step in. And unfortunately, most of the bottom line for most of these players is money, right? And when you can cut costs, when you can use subpar ingredients, it opens up consumers to risk. And so when you are purchasing hemp products, you want to make sure that you trust the company you're purchasing from. So Circus Cannabis Company, we make sure to use the highest quality ingredients. Our stuff is tested. I use it myself. My family uses it. I would never put them in a risk. So you always got to be careful. But it did open up the opportunity for a lot of these farmers to start getting some of their money back, to start branding some of their products so that they didn't lose, everything. Because I've definitely seen, like you said, a lot of farms that they just kind of threw in the towel. They couldn't continue to produce. They couldn't continue to farm. So luckily, being part of an extraction company was a niche where we could provide value to these customers that previously had no value in the product that they were bringing forth. So um, it's been very opportunistic. I think it's been opportunistic for people that don't want to get their medical card for one reason or another. It just increases the access There's even some people that I've spoken to are uh, more likely or on board with trying a Delta 8 product than they would with regular cannabis for one reason or another. I'm not sure why,
No,
but
I've seen it as well with older folks. Something about it not coming from a store and it being like a CBD, and they got it where they get their CBD gummy worms or
mhm,
wherever they feel comfortable. I've had them be like, "Yeah, I tried this," and I'm like, "But you won't trust something, and that I might give you." And it's
right,
just maybe just an older person in their ways. We all have our ways, but it does open them to try it. My only concern, like you said, when it comes to that is I know the quality of what a lot of hemp products are using. And I try to educate people as much as possible. Please don't buy your CBD from a gas station.
right,
If you are going to buy something like that, do it from a trustworthy source or someone that's going to guide you towards the right way. So it's nice coming in contact with someone like you who understands that also from a, family perspective. What am I putting into this? And I'm worried about the consumers who is going to be using this and how's it going to affect them. And I feel like in the cannabis realm, you would hope those would be the main concerns, but sometimes it's not.
right.
Uh,
Most
so
of the
it's
time, unfortunately, it's not. With a lot of these companies, legal, hemp derived or not, they see dollar signs, and we call them patients in Pennsylvania. Um, but I'm sure you can list a dozen instances where these medical companies aren't so medicinal. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't want to throw shade on anything, but I just
Yeah,
like to
no
have
shade.
everybody be just very educated and just know there are people that do want to educate you and lead you in the right way, and never hesitate to reach out. That's part of what this platform is definitely going to be a part of. And I'm definitely listing everybody's companies that are part of this platform, yours being one of them as well. So everyone who is listening, you will have access to this website and everything that Jon Jon is offering you with the stamp of approval, of course, which is great to know. Back to that, what have been some really good products that you think have been selling off the shelves or have some really good feedback that people have been using?
Yeah, so as far as Circus Cannabis goes, our main products that are really flying off the shelves are going to be our edibles. So that's our like a 50 milligram gummy, 100 milligram gummy. We have really good flavors. We kind of pride ourselves on making a little bit of a higher quality, better tasting product. The candy ropes are always a hitter. I enjoy them. It's just kind of a nostalgic, really fun thing to eat. And chocolate bars are another one of our big hitters. So we're really focused on our edible production as far as our offerings, but we do sell a fair amount of CBD tincture. CBD tincture is probably the most effective way to take CBD, and all the CBD we use, I extracted myself from Pennsylvania grown hemp via CO2. So it's a very clean extract, high quality. um, and it's people say it's very effective. One another thing I like to use all the time is a salve, topical salve. It's a very simple product, but I use it for my back, for my knees specifically. I went on a run the other day, and my knees were killing me. Threw some salve on there, and bam, it's effective. The
And
topicals, and I was
what all goes
surprised.
into that?
That is like a beeswax MCT oil base. So you kind of melt that down, mix in your active ingredient. We throw a few more things in there like essential oils. And that's pretty much it. It's very traditional. Salve has been around for a long, long time. So we don't really change the recipe up too much, but we provide that active ingredient that is comes with a lot of relief.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. And for everyone that maybe they do the CBD and they want to dabble into introducing some THC, something new on the market is going to be this THCA products. Do you offer any of those on your website?
We do. We have THCA flower and we have THCA pre rolls. And for everybody that doesn't know, THCA is just regular weed. There's no. I'm not gonna beat around the bush about it. It's just code name that it's the law. The way the law is written. Politicians aren't scientists, so when they wrote the law, they had no idea what they were doing. Typically, they don't know what they're doing. But they excluded THCA in the law, and THCA is the the cannabinoid that is present on the living plant before it's decarboxylated. So, as far as the law is concerned, as long as it's under 0.3% delta 9, it is legal. And I've seen several instances, certificates of analysis of medically grown cannabis flower that would be considered hemp on the streets. And now that's also, we talk about cannabis, the circus of cannabis, right? And even then, it's a gray area, right? Because it depends on who's going to pick that product up off the shelf and who's going to test it, right? One day, one lab could say it's under the limit, and another lab could say it's over the limit. And it's a very, very fine line. 0.3%, there's not much wiggle room, right? So unfortunately, you have consumers that you can go and purchase this anywhere, and then um, the ramifications could be that you're possessing marijuana, and that it's the same ramifications. So, but yeah, I mean THCA and even now they have THCA rosin, THCA concentrates that I've seen, and some of these companies are just getting ballsier. You know what I mean? They're just pushing that limit because there's no pushback. And the more you can get away with it, make $1 now before somebody shuts it down. And that's kind of the mentality of a lot of these companies. We are seeing some states take action, but I don't think that this market, the hemp market, is ever really going to truly go away. Just like the black market, probably for cannabis, will never go away. Um, but and no matter how you look at it, whether you're for it or against it, kind of goes back to kind of like hands off our weed, and we really don't, it opens us up to be more of a free community. The fact that we're able to put this product out, so I think it's a good thing for consumers, for more choices, um, and just to get around that regulation. you know, the more
Yes.
we,
No,
yeah,
I agree. I think it's cool. I think it's really sweet to see you able to go on a website and have these cannabinoids accessible to your doorstep. I think that's really important, and that's a step towards getting it out there.
right,
Legal cannabis, medical cannabis, whatever you want, just make it pro cannabis.
yeah,
And I think that's going to benefit kind of everybody.
yeah. It's
But I do like seeing this THCA stuff. To me,
Yeah, and in some ways, like the hemp industry is actually ahead of legal cannabis, like you said, with being able to order online. I get like postcards sent to my house, like, "Hey, order from this company," and you could go on their website and just order. So it's kind of like the future of what we would want the cannabis industry to be, right? You want to be able to order flower from California, right? If that's your favorite grower out in Cali or wherever it may be, Pennsylvania grown. If you want to stick with a Pennsylvania grower, some local homegrown, it opens it up, and that's what cannabis should be. It should be free
oh
and
yeah,
accessible to
it's such
everybody.
a nice community. Everybody in the cannabis community, with the true sense of the cannabis community, we're all just looking out for each other. We all just like good smoke, good product, and I think everyone should be able to have that. I think it'd be really cool if we are able to make a scene where you are able to network with these growers more and mainstream it to kind of they can get their genetics out more as well. Hopefully, that's the goal. Maybe in like 10 years, cannabis like overnight some clones or something legally. That would be that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be awesome going. going to the store and being like, oh, I'm gonna, just like you're shopping for tomatoes or something, and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna pick up a few cuts of this, few cuts of that, bring it back to the garden, see how that grows, and I'm sure I'm gonna be, I'm not the best grower, so I'm sure I'm gonna, you're always gonna substitute that too, just like, you don't just eat all the vegetables from your garden, so there's probably gonna be some pretty heady product that, and I'm always gonna shop local, you know what I mean? So um, I'm excited to see what these guys can come up with down the pipeline. That kind of continues to build this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I am too. Nice, man. Nice. Well, Jon, thank you for your words of wisdom.
For
Quick
sure,
little
man.
episode for anybody's journey during the day. Hopefully they found some education in there. Definitely a lot of words of value, which I enjoy, which I try to bring. I'm going to try to bring more to this platform. So I appreciate you taking some time, my man, and hopefully have you back.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to dive like deep into whatever else we want to talk about. Concentrates. I'm a concentrate guy, so I can break down how each of those is made, and you know what I mean. We'll schedule another episode. That'd be dope.
Yeah, I'd love that, my man. All right, so just stay.
Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Check out Terp Trends on Instagram. That's Terp_trends for latest updates. You can also find us on YouTube at Terp Trends Podcast. Big shout out to Jon Jon. Thanks for being on the show. Everyone, check out JJ on Instagram, Circus Cannabis Co, and visit the shop, circuscanna.com. Thank you to the PA homie Steve, aka Lowlife, for the unreleased beats, keeping our vibes fresh from start to finish. Find his music at LOLIFE, that's Lowlife. Stay moving, stay grooving. Catch you next time on Turf Trends.